There we go. Salud. Happy Wednesday, everyone.
Hello.
What tea did you have going on over there tonight, Chris? Differ?
Um, I actually have smoothie,
A smoothie.
a fruit juice smoothie, and it is delicious.
and a
What kind of
coconut
juices you
water.
got in there? Coconut water.
Yes, it
Wonderful.
has coconut water, and
Yum.
yeah, very beautiful.
I have a little Tulsi, peppermint, rose hips, licorice root, chai, and willow's bark.
Oh,
Good anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, immune boosting, helps the heart,
God,
helps the gut,
that's what I
and
need.
it also can help with headaches too.
Oh,
The willow's bark.
that sounds good.
Yummy, yummy.
Yeah,
Sarah's
sounds
got a
really good.
mm-hmm. Sarah's got a nice good glass of water over there. Stay hydrated.
I think you should, don't you think?
It's flooding and I got water.
There we go. Plenty. Thank goodness. We need water.
Yeah.
Well, welcome to our Wednesday night share circle with Sanctuaries of the Earth Mother, where we gather in community from all across the world to discuss how we can weave a new sacred hoop of harmony together for all living beings for the 7 generations forward. And tonight we will be talking about designing with the elements: air, water, fire, earth, and ether, and how you can make your home your sanctuary space. So, thank you all for being here today. Really appreciate your presence and taking the time to show up, support, and um, elevate together. Ah, maybe we'll start off by when I first I just traveled back into Los
Okay.
Angeles. And Los Angeles is where I went to architecture school and um, did a lot of building and grew in that side of my work. And so when I started coming out here, I was like, oh my gosh, that's what I want to talk about. So, yeah, I think let's open the circle up, and I may guide us into a little meditation to bring us to our sense of place and ground us in. So, if everyone could just take 3 nice deep breaths together. Breathing in that sweet oxygen wherever you are, and letting out all that doesn't support your presence here in this moment. Feeling your heartbeat, feeling our breaths connect across this interweb. Thank you so much for all the energies that brought us here to this very moment, to the ancestors that have woven their wisdom within us and surrounding us. Thank you to all of us being able to have a roof over our head and to be safe and warm and supported as we need be. May we take our support and our warmth and our comfort and be able to spread that outwards to those around us, to those across the globe from us, to those we may not know, but all those who may need that little bit of warmth, that love, that foundation, that creative support, that playfulness. May they be able to feel the vibrations that we cultivate within this space, and may we put it outwards to them to help them feel more at peace wherever they are, in whichever environment surrounds them. Thank you to the element of earth grounding us, the fire igniting us, our spark, our drive. Thank you to the element of air and the winds that blow away all things that are not in alignment with our highest self. And thank you to the waters. May they be clean and clear, nourishing all living beings across the land. May the waters be protected. May the waters continue to fall from the sky and cleanse our planet, cleanse our souls, and feed our body, mind, and spirit. And thank you to all the ether, the space between, allowing us this expansiveness to grow together as a community and as sovereign individuals. Thank you for all of you gathering here today. Pray that we can have a beautiful conversation that can spread outwards and just help a drop of peace come across these lands. Aho, mitakoyasin. To all my relations.
Oh,
Hmm.
I'm attacking us.
Mhm.
Mm.
So, for all those who don't know me, who maybe see this after the video is published, my name is Shamaine Morejon, and I have been a body worker for like 13 years, and I went to architecture school at Woodbury University here in Los Angeles to study interiors and the built environment and how to weave between on the inside and the outside, the human experience and the relationship between the built environment. And that relationship is really special. Our environment has such a huge effect on our body, whether we're in a city or out in nature. Even though we are nature, we're always around nature. It really can affect our energy centers, it can affect our moods, it can affect our state of health physically. And when you guys maybe think of how our environment may affect us, what comes to mind? How does our environment affect you? How does maybe even being in your home space feel right now? Yeah, Jim.
I couldn't find the button. Um, yeah, it's an interesting question. Whenever I'm indoor, I do not feel uh, completely at my ease, no matter where indoors, even my own place. When I'm outdoors, that's when I feel most. However, having said that, there are types of architecture where I'm more comfortable, where they do a lot of bringing the outdoors into the indoors. I'm thinking like of in Spain, Alejandro, where I spent a whole day there one day because it was just so fascinating. All the waters running in different channels. So there is a way to do it. I just don't. We do it very often.
All right.
Sticking.
Thank you for that reflection. Sarah, would you like to share how your home makes you feel?
Yeah, sometimes it makes me feel good. My surroundings. I love my kids. Um, yeah, it makes me feel good, and then some days it doesn't, you know.
Mhm. Um,
Right now I'm anxious. It's
sure. You know,
okay.
it's always, yeah, it is okay. No worries. I appreciate you opening your voice to us
Yeah,
and sharing.
yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, Christopher.
Yeah, um, home for me is a funny thing. I've got the house I live in. I think of home as also the environment I live in. And the square box houses I find don't have the same flow for me as being out in nature. And I'd like to see a lot more integration between our lived environment and the nature we live in, instead of replacing nature with a house, somehow integrating the two. And I don't see or feel enough of it. And I'd like to see more.
Mm-hmm.
Being here and having worked on a farm area, I see how nature is more of what we work with there, but it's still a manipulated nature,
Mm-hmm.
even in what we call a high country station, which is reasonably natural, but it's still a manipulated nature. You know, the amount of times that we can allow nature in to be as she is without us predetermining the way we want it for whatever purpose,
Mm-hmm.
I find it misses something. When I go out in natural bush, it's a whole different vitality that I find than when I'm on the farm. But that feels more vital than I do when I'm in a town with all the concrete and the asphalt and the square boxes. Just that doesn't have the same vitality. It's almost like I'm grasping for breath at
Mm-hmm.
times, looking for that life and that vitality. It comes from the place I live, the environment, the structures, even the energy of the building itself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's my little penny's worth.
Mm-hmm.
Talking stick in the middle.
Thank you for sharing that. I love that, that vitality. Our
Yeah,
environment can drain us or it can feed us. So I would love to just allow us to drop our eyes and let's come home. Let's come home to this present moment. Let's let our arms relax, get in a comfortable position wherever and however that may be. And we'll take a nice breath together. And just feel where you're sitting right now. Feel the energy of the chair or material that's underneath you. Feel that texture on your legs, or how you sink into it, maybe, or how maybe it holds you like a foundation. And as you breathe, notice the depth of your breath without trying to change it, just being aware of it. Notice if you are slumped over or if you're straight up, posture well, lungs open, heart open. Notice where your feet touch the ground. Maybe you're barefoot, maybe you have socks on, maybe you have shoes on. Notice what it feels like to have your feet in relation with the ground below you. Feel the lighting that's around you, whether it's the sunshine coming in through the window that might be warming your foot, your leg, your shoulders, your face. Or maybe it's a little cooler in your house. Notice the temperature. Notice the color behind your eyes. Anything lighting up. And just go back to noticing the quality of your breath. And now deepen it. Have a big exhale. And just visually in your mind, notice your home. Notice your windows and the light that comes in. Notice the dark spots. Notice if there's any hallways that you walk down or through. And imagine the air flowing through it like a wind gust. Does that wind gust and go through that space? Or does it get stuck in a corner somewhere? Or at the end of a hallway? Notice the textures that are around. Your textiles, your window coverings, your bedspreads, your couch, your chairs. Notice if those materials are hard or soft. Are they smooth or rough? And notice if you have any candles in your house or a fireplace, something that brings the warmth, that ties into that light as well. And then notice any plants that are around you throughout your home, your porch, your backyard. And then let's go back in the home and notice where these living beings are breathing with you throughout your home space. What are their leaves like? Their petals? Are they dark green or bright? Maybe lighter. Are they big and bushy like and growing like a fern? Or are they more like a succulent or a cactus? Are they soft to touch or prickly? And notice going back to the temperature. Are you warm? Are you cool? Are you just right? Can you feel a breeze blowing on you? Or do you feel the AC or the fan, that mechanical air blowing on you? And now wherever you are, go back to that relationship with your feet to the ground, to your foundation. And imagine you are a tree. Imagine your roots growing down through your feet into whatever material your floor is made of. Your roots are growing through that, through the foundation, the concrete, into the soil, the earth below the foundation. And then imagine, as you breathe, those roots growing thicker and deeper into the earth. And then that air going up through your trunk, through your legs, through your belly, through your heart, up through the crown, lifting your head up tall, heart open. And imagine that you are just a tree inside your home, breathing with those plants, with those furnitures, with the air, the fire, the light, the waters. Imagine yourself and your environment as one breathing organism. There's no separation between you. You are the chair and the chair is you. You are the floor and the floor is you. You are the air you breathe and the air is you as well. Your skin is this permeable membrane in which all of these elements and experiences within your home are breathing with you, growing with you. As your leaves grow on the ends of your trunk, the ends of your branches, the environment around you grows as well. One is feeding the other. And just sit with that for a moment. Breathing, expanding, growing, and grounding. And now allow your right hand to come to your left shoulder. Take a nice breath and let your left hand come to your right shoulder. And just squeeze and give yourself a hug. Grateful for being present today. Maybe giving yourself a little love that you may need. Slowly let your eyes flutter open. And thank you for that. We are a living, breathing organism just as much as our environment is. Would anyone like to share anything that came up for them during that? If not, it's okay. I just want to open the space for it. Christopher, yeah.
Just noticing how much that idea of bringing nature energy through us into the house. I notice how the feeling I've been describing previously here has changed. That sense of connection is more than just a concept. It's like you say, it's a living energy we can bring in. It's just staying in connection with it. We don't need to look for the connection. It's just there. We just forgot to look at it and acknowledge it. When we do, it comes through us. And I like that. We are part of nature. We're made from nature. Yeah. She's our breath. She's her waters, our blood, her minerals and cells are at our flesh through the plants and foods we eat. She's us, we are her.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you for that meditation and the reminder. Much appreciated.
Mm-hmm. Con
Talking
gusto.
stick in the middle.
Would anyone else like to share?
Mm. Can I ask a question?
Okay.
When you got interested in this field, what drew you to it?
Well, definitely always grew up with changing the furniture around in the space in our home. When my mom would need a reset energetically, she would change her physical environment.
Mm.
So it's like, okay, I'm feeling like I need renewal. Like that's almost like that spring cleaning, right? So we'd always be, you know, changing the curtains out or moving the bed in a different part of the room or moving the couch, just changing the spatial awareness and the way we flow through the space. So I
Yeah,
always grew up with that, and being like a Gemini, and B Hungarian, which is gypsy like. I'm always like adaptable, mutable, changing. As all of us are, change is the only constant. It's the only guarantee is that we're going to change and our environment will change.
yeah,
Our emotions, physical, mental, spiritual. And um, then beyond that, I was always really into interior design. I love textiles. I love the way fabric feels on my skin and the way it drapes, even in art history, like chiaroscuro is the difference between the light and the shadow, that really dramatic change. And the painters would always create that within fabrics and drapery.
yeah.
So that always caught my attention. And then I became a massage therapist.
Ah,
And I always thought that I had to choose. I was like, do I go in the health field or do I go in the design field? And I was like, no, I want to do both.
mm,
Because they both intrinsically affect each other. Our built environment affects the human quality and human health. And even when I would set up for my massages in different areas, I would want to put in crystals and fabric and have good textures and warmth and think about these different elements to curate a whole experience
Yeah.
where it's not just about the what you're doing, it's about how things make you feel.
Mm.
And I always wanted to bring that to my healing practice. So I decided, well, let me just get bigger. I don't want to do just interior design because that's just interiors. That's just like decorating to a degree. I wanted to be able to build. I love, my dad did construction growing up, and he works on the sets um, in the film industry. He's worked like on movie sets at like Warner Brothers and Paramount and all these different ones. So I'd go to the sets and I'd always see them constructing and building and changing the mood and the energy of a space through textiles and the built environment. And so I decided like I wanted to not just work with interiors, but be able to work with how the walls were being built, what that was made of, how the windows let in light and kept in the heat or
Yeah.
allowed it to cool. And right now, I'm living in an earth ship in Taos, New Mexico. And literally, the building is a living, breathing organism. In Native American culture, the Mother Earth needs us to continue thriving, and we need Mother Earth to continue thriving. It's a reciprocal, symbiotic relationship. And so I very much like in architecture school wanted to explore that. How can we create a built environment that intrinsically affects our energy centers and our health and happiness and peace of mind?
Mm.
So yeah, the long story, short story, or not a short story. Hope that answers your question. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay, next question. So I live in a house that's not an earthship, doesn't have this living environment set up. How do those of us who are in a house like mine, how do we adapt? Or is there anything we can do? Or do we actually need to go out and find our own earthships or start from scratch or like take it absolute beginner? Where do I go?
That's a great question. It's a great question because there's so many, our homes don't really breathe as much anymore.
Mm.
And I think that my number one answer is look at the five elements
Mm.
and think about that as you go throughout your home. And I always like number one, just get a plant. The more plants you have, the more oxygen you have inside your home, the more real oxygen that's being created, not the recycled stuff that goes in through the air conditioning and whatnot.
Yeah.
Um, and one thing that my mother always did that I grew up with was, we lived in Florida growing up. And so like Sarah's going through right now, there's big storms right now, right? Rain and wind. And that's a perfect time to open the doors and the windows of your home, to let out the stagnancy
Yeah.
and let the elements just clear things out. Um,
Yeah.
so so we're gonna kind of go through the different elements, and I want to know just maybe like one thing. Hi, Pine Ridge, so happy that you're here now. Just giving a little shout out. Welcome. We're talking about designing with the elements and how we can incorporate the elements in our home to create a sanctuary space that not only helps elevate our mood, give us a peace of mind, but can actually help our internal health and our connection with the earth. Um, so with your question, Christopher, of what can you do in a normal house
Yeah.
to bring in those elements, my number one thing is like plants.
Mm.
They filter the air, and they feed you. And they take in your carbon dioxide that you let out when you exhale. So everyone take a look around your house and see how many plants do you see in view? You can say zero. Just put up the number to the screen.
Are you talking about inside or outside or all together?
Inside. Seven, zero. Christopher, do you have any around you right now?
Well, there's this one right here.
Okay, that's cool. It's a little viney.
Yeah, it's actually quite a large viney thing. There's that one, there's two of them up there. There's the pink container, there's got another plant, there's another plant on the other side of that. So we've probably got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We've got about 11 in the room.
Good. Amazing.
Yeah.
I'm in my sister's room right now, or my sister's old room. She has zero plants in here. We've got great windows, great lighting, zero plants. How does that feed us? So I think that's number one. Bring nature inside. And
Mhm.
plants and the earth is one way to do it. You could even just have gosh, I would just even sometimes have like a bowl of dirt. If I'm in an area where I can't, it's like, oh, I just need to ground in. Let me just grab some of that dirt patch right there.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, and the having something else you can think about with the earth is, is there any wood around? That's tree, right? Do you have
Mm.
any wood around in your house that you can see, Sarah? No wood? Yeah. Christopher.
One of the things I find, like I look around me and virtually all the stuff that's made from wood is that pulped up wood that they recompress into something, put lots of chemicals in it,
Particle board.
and yeah, it doesn't feel like wood at all.
Right.
It doesn't have that natural, it's almost the opposite. It's like we've divorced ourselves from its original form. And it's like, why do they do this?
Right. And oh, are you complete?
I am complete.
Okay. It's interesting that you mentioned that because there is this composite board that so much is made of. Like you get products from IKEA and whatnot, or you'll see like a layer of fake wood on top, but it's mostly particle board. And what's in that particle board, the adhesive that's made all of the little pieces of wood come together, is actually made of formaldehyde. It's a type of formaldehyde, a cancer-causing agent that is actually the adhesive for many of our products. So it's insane us being inside our home with all of these chemicals that are made and we're breathing
Mm.
that in. And what's taking out the toxins? The plants are the only thing that takes it out. And the air that we maybe have to go through, or the fire maybe to burn it up.
Mm.
But mainly, I think the water, the air, and the plants are going to take up those toxic chemicals. And and I'll get to you in a second, Jim, but something really interesting that I was just looking at before our meeting was, and talking of today with one of my design bosses or design partners, we were talking about how mushrooms, the mycelium, are actually on the radar for many innovators and builders as a building material, a new building material. So the mycelial acts as an adhesive agent. And in many different ways, they'll start in teeny little petri dishes. And next thing you know, this woman created, or this group of people created a block of mycelium. She put 3 cinder blocks on top until it started to kind of squish a little bit. So it's lightweight, it's organic material, and it's something that we can grow very easily. So when you speak about like building materials, which I want to do on our next, I want to go into building materials a lot more on my next share circle. But this, we are talking about now this new system of building, having regenerative building materials. So we're not wasting. Even Jim was saying when I was visiting, we got to stop using trees. We got to stop using trees to build stuff. They're not growing fast enough. But hot damn, mushrooms grow fast. 4 days. And they're building chairs out of it. And they actually have plywood out of mycelium. So go ahead, Jim. That's my mushroom spiel. Yay,
Yeah,
mushrooms. Yay, fungi.
I was going to bring that up again, and I heard from Vine Ridge as well. No, we cannot really be wood inside anymore. There's full, and we're just decimating. We're already decimating the forest for other wood uses. So wood should really be off of our use agenda. But there are other things. We just installed flooring here and some flooring down at a friend's little place. And so I explored it because we didn't want the stuff that's got all the chemicals in it and blah, 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 and certainly never wood. My place here, we've got paneling on some walls because this place was built 40 years ago. So we wouldn't do that now. But for flooring, there is now hemp flooring and there's also bamboo flooring. Both are rapid growing products. But again, you got to stay in balance. If you
Mm-hmm.
start planting gobs of acres of both of those, you haven't accomplished anything. Neither of those uses, if you get the right kind, uses the chemicals you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Costs a little more, absolutely. But this one place we were flooring is a very small space that someone's living in. And so I wanted to really pay attention because no, you sure as hell don't want all those chemicals in a little 250, 300 square foot space. Then you're
Right.
looking for trouble. Then they also have um, span than the regular wood flooring.
What'd you say?
They have a longer lifespan,
Oh, mm-hmm. Exactly.
so
Thinking of the seven
costs a
generations
little.
forward.
Yeah, it costs a little bit more going in, but it'll hang with stick in the middle.
Really good points. Yeah, Sarah. 1 second, Christopher.
Sorry, I'm a blubbery mess. I don't know why. It's just waterworks everywhere.
We love it. Totally good. This is a safe space for that. Mm-hmm. What did you want to
I
share?
have nothing. Nothing. Just wanted to share that.
Yeah, I noticed that after the meditation, things came up for you. Do you want to share at all anything that came up? You don't have to at all, but
Not on recording.
okay. We'll talk after. Definitely. Thank you. And you don't ever have to, anybody who's watching this, anytime you're on or join us, you never have to apologize for crying. Element of water is present, and we love it. I've cried on our share circles plenty of times. And I've gotten angry and I've gotten happy and dancy and joy. It's all of the emotions are welcome. This is a safe, non-judgmental space. We are happy to have everyone here as they are in this moment that is ever changing. So thank you for sharing, Sarah. Christopher.
Mm. Yeah, just looking at talking about the mycelium and forming and that, have we looked into, or what are the feelings behind growing things in a lab situation as opposed to growing them in nature? But I also know and understand how in nature, if people start growing something like hemp crops, there's a natural growing cycle and a natural growing season. And I know the temptation to try and accelerate these growths. And the question comes up for me is about natural growing cycles and natural growing rhythms and bringing that sense of naturalness in. If we're doing it in the laboratory or forcing plants to grow with fertilizers and chemicals and things like that, organics, I don't mind so much, but these artificial things, I know soil gets depleted with that stuff and it eventually becomes unusable. Like for me, I'm looking at this whole circle of life that we need to acknowledge and work with. There's, to me, it's a far bigger picture than just, oh, let's use this. It's how we use it, where we get it from, the energy we bring in with that. It's just, to me, it's a whole sequence of things that needs to be looked on a very long term. So talking stick in the middle.
I hear you, and it's definitely interconnected. And I think one of the main things that popped up for me is patience. And that takes a cultural shift in our mindsets to not have things on demand every moment we need it. The
Mm,
apples don't grow during a certain season, so you don't have it in the grocery store, right?
mm,
And it's not going to be about one resource and that's it. It's about how we utilize these different resources that are regenerative to feed our homes and our built environment and the population, the masses. So I think patience, mindset shifting, and regenerative integration.
yeah,
Jim,
I hear you.
thank you.
So from Frank up at Pine Ridge, they like to use some wood. They like to be in wood for the energy, for the spirit. One of the people with him there today is a forager. So if they want to bring wood inside, they go look for food, for wood that has fallen down, that's from a tree that has died. But even there, he hastened to, what did he call it? Uh, um, in effect, just you have to take care. You don't take a piece of wood that's still being used by the natural elements. So if there's insects or anything living in that wood, using that wood, then you don't want to take it. You want to make
Right.
sure that that you have something that's inert.
Right. And you're not disrupting the life, the ecosystem that's already going on with those materials. And that's where our cultural shift comes into play because it's taking the time to be aware and honor and respect those natural cycles that happen. And I think that's why they, partly why they have like tree farms and like bamboo farms and hemp farms, right? To try to have this controlled environment to answer the masses and the demand. But there still has to be that balance. We have to keep that harmony. And I think that there's a big difference when we're talking about someone who bought a piece of land and is going out and they're talking to the trees, they're seeing what's needed, they're not taking more than what they need, they're not just leveling out a whole place, but they're really like creating this relationship with the land, creating this relationship with the materials that are surrounding that they'll use or leave. And that's one of my biggest things is that, our home and the human, there's a relationship between that. And it's about our like interacting with our home in a way that is sacred, if that makes sense. Yeah, thank you. What was his name in Pine Ridge that shared that?
That was Tom, but I just asked, Tom's not Archer, it's somebody else.
Okay, well, thank you for sharing that. I'll just say Pine Ridge. Yeah, that relationship though, and having the awareness of what's going on with that material where you find it. There was even I was talking with Sean Gillerin. He's a designer here in Los Angeles that works on accessory dwelling units, and he's building this like a granny flat in Bishop. It's a desert area, and it's like kind of high mountain desert. And the guy there was like talking about, I believe it's the Paiute Shoshone, I believe is the indigenous on that land. And the man who's building his addition, he had seen these incredible rocks, almost like really dark, volcanic looking. They'd been around for a very long time. And his mindset goes, oh my gosh, those would be really incredible to use in my retaining wall or something like that. And then they went deeper, him and the designer, about okay though, like what's the ecosystem that's already inhabiting these rocks? What's the history of why are these rocks still here? How is it connected to, or how do the indigenous there connect to these living beings, these rocks? And why should I feel like I have the right to take them from their nesting place? And it really brought in this awareness into design that is so needed, especially in our architecture field. We have such a, we spend billions and trillions of dollars on building materials. And I used to work for the LAUSD school system in their design department, which is where I met Sean Gillerin. And we would work on these schools that have very little budget. When you work in the education system, you have to take bids. You take bids from the lowest, you go with the cheapest thing you can get, right? Because it's a public system that's not fed that well by our government, or at least not as well as it should be. Yeah, exactly. So I would go this one summer, I went to all these different schools, and especially the ones in underprivileged communities, they were all asphalt. You're in the middle of Los Angeles, and you have these children playing in, having their playground be on asphalt in the hot sun with no shade. And then you go to this other school where they have these things, and then they have imported tile from Italy in the bathroom. And you're like, what are we doing with our resources? What are we doing with the awareness of where our materials come from? Not only was that material, if it might have been a beautiful stone, but how much natural gas did it take to get it here? And why is it being used in a school system when we should be using something that can breathe? And maybe if we don't spend as much on the tiles, we can have shading for these children all across the city. I think I went off on a tangent there. But so I'm going to dial it back in. So we talked about earth, how we could bring in maybe plants into the space. And the earth resonates with our root chakra, our most fundamental chakra, below the sacrum. And it is connected to our root, our foundation, our stability, our grounding. So when you bring in earth elements, you are essentially strengthening that groundedness that you have in a daily basis in your home. So then we move up to the sacral chakra. It's our chakra that deals with our sense of creativity. It deals with our playfulness, fertility, our emotional health, and that is related to water, which kind of makes sense with the sacral, the womb space, and the water and the fluids that go in through the birthing process. So, if you guys take a look around, do you notice any water elements? Whether it's a picture of water or actual water, maybe even reflecting on your shower space, how that feels in your bathroom. But just let's reflect on water spaces in our home. And maybe what water feels like to you. What kind of energy does water bring? Well, for me, um, water brings this sense of fluidity. It relates to your blood flow. So if you feel and hear and touch and can even smell water around you, it intrinsically is helping your internal waters, resonating to your blood flowing, your pumping of the heart, your cardiovascular system. It's directly related to the fluidity within you and adaptability as well. You know, Bruce Lee says, flow like water. So when you flow like water, it is a matter of not getting stuck at the boundaries around or not, water doesn't go through the rock, it goes around the rock. It adapts, it changes its flow. So when we have water in our home, say there's a water feature, say we have a bird feeder outside, sometimes there's these little I've seen these little decorative chimes that hang that are like almost like little bells. And when it rains, they're kind of like hung off the gutter. And when it rains, it fills up, the little cup fills up, and then it spills over, and then it spills over to the next one, and the next one, and the next one. And you kind of have this waterfall flowing down just with these little bells that are filling up. Um, do you guys have any water features in your house? Any like essential oil diffusers are even water? Nice. Diffusers are a great way. Two of them? Ugh, love it. What's your favorite essential oil to put in that, Christopher?
Um, I have a selection. I like lavender. I like clove oil,
Ooh,
cinnamon. Yeah, any of the sort of earthy ones, the sandalwood, stuff like that. Once in a while, I'll go for mint. Um, yeah, just often depends on the day, but those are some of my top ones.
nice. Super yummy. All of those are very earthy, grounding. And lavender is like one of the most widely and most ancient used healing herbs. Topically, orally, everything. Lavender's like a super herb. What about you, Jim? Do you have any water features in your house besides your dog bowls?
I have, no, I have a diffuser. Well, um, but that's good enough.
Yeah.
I it's fun. I'm reflecting as you're in these various elements. So I teach shamanic practices, and one of the first courses or teach is setting up your house to be open for spiritual work. And the
Hmm.
things we are, do you have any wood? Where did you get? How was it collected? Do you have water elements? Do you have plants? Many, and are they in what kind? And the one you haven't gotten to, you may. You get little spherical orbs, glass orbs, which reflect different colors. You hang them also in strategic places. So it applies to hang up your place to do spiritual work as well.
Absolutely. And one of the main, I caught two things from that. One, spaciousness, which goes into the element of air and ether for me, where if do you have space in your home to move, or is it cluttered, where it kind of distracts your mind and your body from the work that you need to do, that spiritual work, or even the physical work? Is it distracting, or do you have spaciousness? And the other thing I like that you said was you talked about the orbs, different orbs to put in. Is that like light refracting kind of globe things?
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's a really beautiful element to bring into your home. Like in feng shui, you're not supposed to have your entrance and your exit line up because then the energy comes in and then the energy goes out. If for some reason your house is just like that, it's built like that, you got no choice, right? You put in an orb like that and it refracts the energy. It disperses the energy before it leaves the home. Oh, huh. Said I'm raising my hand. um, so we can have little tricks like that to create that spaciousness and that energy flow in our home that's more harmonious, even though we are not the builders of our home and cannot change those major elements like where the doors are, where the windows are. So, yeah, any more reflection on that? Okay. Mhm. So
I
efficient.
finally got
Thank
my
you.
hand up. Yeah. We know we're supposed to put our hands up. Um, I've had little plays with feng shui, and I find when I listen to my natural instincts, they tend to be very similar to what feng shui shows us or invites us to do.
Mhm.
And whether it's put a plant somewhere, put a bowl of water somewhere, or where I put my diffuser, something about it always seems to flow and be similar to what the feng shui is directing us towards.
Mhm.
So for me, one confirms the other, and I quite like that. And I've learned to trust my instincts with, like you say, rearranging the house, shifting things, shifting the energy. Also, not to have things sitting stagnant all the time.
Right.
I find stagnation in the room. I've been learning a lot lately how shifting things and getting rid of things that aren't being used helps shift the energy in a room.
Mhm. Can
Yeah.
you describe what stagnation feels like to you both?
If
Does
I,
it? Go ahead, yeah.
yeah, if I go first, it's like the air hasn't moved for a while. It almost feels like a breath that's been shut in a room for too long. It's like water, it's been stagnant and hasn't had a flow to it. It's not aerated properly. It feels it hasn't got, it's not carrying the vitality that flowing water does. That's the way it feels to me.
Kind of like a sense of lethargy.
Yeah, it's like having an old tire sitting in your backyard and there's some water stagnant in it. And it just starts to grow slime and stuff and stuff that doesn't grow and you even get insects in it that don't grow in flowing water, mosquitoes, larvae and stuff like that. Which often bring health problems with them, which to me is a clear indication that this is not a healthy situation. But that's what stagnation feels like to me. Stuff left too long. in one place without functionality or use or purpose or direction. And it's
Or
like us
direction.
humans, if we don't have any of those things, we stagnate and become stagnant, you know. And this is where, for me, we need to become part of that life that we're talking about bringing into the home. If we're not in that life and part of it, how can we expect to feel it in our home? Talking stick in the middle.
Hmm. Yeah, it feels like that stagnancy. It's like almost like you might be have stagnant energy if you feel
Mm,
lethargic, if you feel confused, unable to make decisions. Um, what else? Your nervous system might be heightened a lot, feeling anxious. So take notice of how your home makes you feel. When you get home from work or being out, do you feel relaxed to be in your space or do you feel more anxious? Do you feel extra tired, unmotivated? These are all kind of signs and symptoms that something needs to change in the simplicity of your home space to help those internal vibrations be more in harmony, more at balance. Jim?
Yeah, for me, it's energetic when I don't feel the energy moving um, all around me, and I'm something's not right, and I have to feel into it to see this. It's not. I don't feel ill at ease. I just feel hmm, something not moving. Why is that? And
Hmm.
I may open the door. I reposition plan. It depends what I feel.
Hmm. Yeah, thank you. Hmm. So then we got fire. We have our fireplaces, our candle, our lighting that comes in through the windows. How many windows do you guys see around you? Describe what your lighting is like in your home. 5 windows. So you have pretty good lit space then, it seems like, Christopher. So that's all natural lighting.
that's all natural lighting. Um, this is a cloudy day. We're in winter. Um, because I live on a basement apartment, the windows that we do have are essentially two faces of the house. So we have two other faces of the house. One that faces the bank and the basement. One faces another edge of the hill. Um, they're buried below ground level. So we only have windows in two faces of the house.
Aha. But how incredible to have some window space even though you're in a basement space.
Yeah,
It seems pretty lit up, and to have 5 windows in that area is great.
yeah.
Great. I have these three big windows, corner windows that are facing, what direction is that? North, south? They're facing south.
Mm.
The south is really pay attention to your cardinal directions and where you put things and different elements in your home. Because the south is where you have the most consistent lighting. So if you are building your space out and you're like, where do I put the windows? Make sure you put them in the south, at least, at minimum. That way you can consistently have that lighting as the sun rises and the sun sets, and through the winters and the summers. And um, living in an earth ship. Oh, yeah, go ahead, Christopher.
I live in the southern hemisphere. We need them in the north.
Very good point. Very good point. Yeah. Right. So take account of that opposition. Feng shui for the northern hemisphere, feng shui for the southern hemisphere. And this is why we have a council all over the world, because there's such different perspectives and things to be paying attention to. I just want to welcome Jasmine in as well. Thanks for being here. Appreciate you. We went through earth, water, we're on fire, looking at our lighting, our and how we bring in that element of the sun into our space, that vitality force, that life force. How are we allowing that to come in and infiltrate our area, to ignite us and energize us? Fire is also related to the, oh yeah, it's the solar plexus. And our solar plexus is related to our sense of purpose, our sense of self, our willpower, our self-control. So if you're feeling like you are lacking those different things, then juice up your solar plexus, your yellows, your fire. Those elements will really help bring stability to those different aspects of self. It can also help your digestive system. So if your digestive system isn't great, bring the sun in, bring the fires in. Let it just alchemize all that stuff in the belly and in the body so you can cleanse and clear. Wanted to show, does anyone have a fireplace in their home? Nice. Not quite. But you got candles, right? Great. If you can't have a fireplace, have candles. Have a candle altar. How many do you guys have altars in your home? Oh, go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, I wanted to go back to the same place with a fireplace. Fireplaces burn wood, not
Aye.
good. So you really have to be, most places actually now, you cannot put a wood burn fireplace into a new home. Certainly out here in the West, that's the case.
Right.
You can use gas, but then you're using another consumptive energy source. So that's a different one. It's the same as I'm fixing my place up here off some old wood and such. It's piled back there, and I have a little fire pit out here. So I have this old wood that's done. So I have something I can use for a fire. It takes extra effort and extra time and extra energy to address these things, though.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of these see the bales of firewood in stores and so forth. There are companies that go out there and they'll just clear cut an area and cut the wood up and then put it there for people to buy for firewood. So it's a real issue. It's a
Yeah.
real issue.
Yeah, that's true. It's very true. And then you have to think like, well, what's the compromise? Like, say you're in this in a home
Yep.
that is off grid, right? Like I'm in this earth ship that is a living, breathing being, which I'm going to show you pictures of a few different earth ships so you can see. But you know, there's so much that we're doing in our home to be as off grid as possible, yet we have a fireplace that is burning wood. So there are compromises we have to make in the reality of this world. We cannot, and I want to say this to like release any guilt that anyone has listening to this of like the resources they're using. It's about how much can we compromise? How much can we minimalize our carbon footprint? And to not be over anxious with all the guilt that you may have because you are living in this society that demands these different things. But to just think about different ways that you can patiently, maybe even drastically, change things up. Go ahead, Jim.
From Pine Ridge, of course, they use fire for a lot of things.
Yeah.
When they're going to have a fire and also some for cooking, they come together. in a building, so that the wood is then, instead of just a few people sitting around a fireplace and wood all night, you've got a community fire. So
Mm-hmm.
you're lessening your impact that way.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do that all places, obviously. Um, and it is, it's a tough, I don't know. We don't have good options yet, or non-consumptive for those sorts of things. We're
Mm-hmm.
getting them in other arenas, but I don't know how we, how do we cook? I don't think there's solar stoves yet.
No.
So we have to look at our various options
Yeah,
and which is the least consumptive.
exactly. Mm-hmm. And just making little, and if we all make a few compromises, it makes a big difference. And of course, nothing compares to the fact that our mass manufacturers are utilizing a lot more resources than our individual. But our individual voices and actions together in unity can change those things and can change the way that they work. It's all about supply and demand with these mass manufacturers, right? Our capitalist society. So if we're demanding that we all want to have bricks made out of mycelium, then gosh darn it, they're probably going to have more mushroom farms to make those. Just like there's now like vegan food in fast food restaurants. Why did that happen? Because people demanded it. So when we come together in our voice to and action to demand these changes, demand as consumers, because that's the only way that they know how to hear is through money, then they respond to that. Jim, did you still have something you wanted to say?
Oops, no, sorry.
Okay. Um, cool. Anything else about our fire, our innovation, our passion, creativity, and how that can be woven into our home through our design, Christopher? That might not answer that question, but go ahead.
No, it's probably not going to. There's a big thing I look at, we often, or something I often hear is, what difference can I make? And people think they're only making a little difference. But if we get enough people together making little differences, it starts to become a big difference. So each step we take in the right direction, facilitating the changes that need to take place, the more effective that change is going to become. And I often find it surprising how often when people see one person doing something, it gives other people permission to do the same thing.
Right,
So, talking stick in the middle.
exactly. Yep. Jazz, I wanted to welcome you in and ask you a little bit about your home, maybe what we came into this awareness of where we are right now in our home space. I know these technology things, right? Um, and I'm curious. Yeah, I'll give you a second. No worries. I'll come back to you. Um, mm,
Here's another,
yeah.
as we're talking about space, and you said, we got to pay attention to space, we do. But that also, we have to keep balance. It's good to see that smaller homes are becoming more in vogue again, because you have these huge monstrosities that are creations to ego that are 10 times the amount of square footage that anybody needs to live in. And those are particularly consumptive,
Right.
and it in its
Exactly.
own ego. Yeah.
Yeah, and actually with that being said, I pulled up that your sanctuary space can be anywhere. Your home can be your car, your van, or a mansion. You know, it could be a shack in nature, where maybe your home is in your backpack, right now. Wherever your feet land, you might be backpacking across the world. So your home is wherever your feet are. So it's really about allowing that awareness and creating sanctuary wherever you go. And I just wanted to show like, so I was living in my van for like 3 years, and every time I have I think this is my third van, and before that, oh, Jazz left. I'm sure she'll come back. Um, every time before that, I was in my Honda Fit. So it's like even in my car that I'm in every day, I create a sanctuary space. I have my altar on the dashboard. I have different stones that help my energy centers balance. For instance, citrine is a stone. Citrine and tiger's eye help your solar plexus, that fieriness. So there are different elements you can bring into wherever your sanctuary is. And I wanted to show, if I can get my share screen, my little um, show my little home on wheels. Can you see this?
Yes, we see it.
So even in my van, I had wood elements, recycled redwood from a mill up north, have different textiles going on. I open the van and have lots of windows for lighting, so that way the air can blow through and cleanse the space out. It's such a compact space, but there is always an opportunity to bring those elements. Oh, Roomy boy, rest in peace, baby. So no matter the how small or big your space is, you can always create sanctuary. Um, and then, oh, and this was the redwood farm that I got my wood from. So really thinking about how to sustain it, and a friend helped me build it out, and we just scrapped these pieces together, sanded them, and really made the home as sustainable as possible. And then I'll just show this little beginning part one more time for those who missed it. And having your spaces where you can, where you feel elevated. I have the little crystal, there's the amethyst there. So many things that you can do to create that sanctuary space. Let me just go here. And I wanted to show you guys a few little earth ships so you can see what these are like. Pretty incredible spaces. So these earth ships, when we're speaking of building and how we are that living, breathing organism with our home, there's so many old technologies. And this was, I think the man who started working with earth grids and got them funded to really experiment with them was back in, I think, the 70s. So there's a space in Taos called the Earthship Institute, and it is a community where you have homes that are off grid, built from recycled tires, aluminum cans, and packed with dirt. And then they plaster over with natural mud, which is taken from indigenous practices of the adobe building houses. And you can see how, like, you pack this rammed earth. You have the tire, the earth rammed in it, and the cans, and it creates this structure. And they use bottles. Let me see if I can get this. This share screen thing. Oh, here we go. Okay, that's better. Ba-bum. Dum, dum, dum. Apologies. So just to show a little bit of a different one. You have all these different ways that you can create form from recycled material, where your house can be a living and breathing organism. And the next share circle I do, which we'll be wrapping up any minute now, we'll be talking more about the structure and how to build actually with different innovative materials to have this living, breathing organism. And just to tie into having your major windows on the south side for light, Earth ships actually create an atrium space where you can grow food in all conditions. So in New Mexico, I have this space here, and we have a banana tree growing and a avocado tree. We have tropical plants that actually grow inside because of the way we orient our lighting, and we bring in the earth so it breathes. So there are different ways that we can incorporate these elements into our home space. We can incorporate air through allowing the doors to open, the windows to open, allowing the breeze to come through. We can incorporate earth, our foundation, through plants and dirt and the flooring that we use, the type of material we use on our walls, in our floor, and our ceiling. And we can use water elements like diffusers that can allow natural aromatherapies to come through the air to help our whole body function. And then we've got, what else is there? What did we say? Yeah, and then fire, lighting, allowing that to cultivate a light around us and within us. Our light energizes our cells. So, Jim, did you have something you wanted to say?
But no,
Oh,
I see our guest is back.
huh?
Our guest back.
Yay.
I don't know if anything wanted to be said by our guest before we get off.
I don't got anything to say right now. But you did ask a question about my house.
Yeah, I was curious about um like how your house makes you feel. If it feels, how does your body feel when you're in your home? Is it restful? Is there lighting coming in? Do you have plants around? What is it kind of like for you as your sanctuary?
I absolutely love my home because it's old, so it's a lot of those uncured natural materials. And then I also don't have curtains. Only at night, when I have my lights on. So I usually have my lights off and have that natural light coming in. The only
Hmm.
thing I do need to work on is the airflow in there, man. It's really stuffy, but you also mentioned an altar. I do have an altar in my home as well. So, and I sit nothing but on the floor. It's very comfortable besides the
Ah,
stuffiness.
yeah, that I really like that you brought the element of levels. You're sitting on the floor. You're more grounded towards the earth. If you're watching this after and you don't have a space where you can comfortably sit on the floor, create it. Get cushions, have your blankets, your somewhere where you can let yourself be free to lay and sit upon the earth so you are closer to the ground. Mm.
Matter of fact, right now I could be sitting in my chair, but yeah, I'm always trying to be on the ground.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. Is there anything else you'd like to share, Jazz?
Not right now, no.
Okay, thank you for being here. Let's just take a nice breath. That was a lot of goodness. Is there anything else anyone else would share before we close our circle out?
The folks at Pine Ridge said thank you, and they had to close out at 6:30 for some reason.
Okay. So I'm going to just ground us back into our meditation. And then when I give a little bird call, Christopher is going to bless us out. Does that sound good, Christopher?
Perfect.
Perfect.
Just
Perfect.
like, thank you.
So let's just shake our arms out, shake our body a little bit. We've been sitting for a while. Maybe give a nice little stretch above your head, side to side. Be a little pulling on the shoulders, the jaw, the neck. And start to let your hands rest wherever they want, wherever you feel comfortable, letting your eyes rest down, closing the mind down, and just feeling the heartbeat and your breath for a moment. And noticing without judgment, without changing anything, the quality of your breath, how deep it goes, how expanded your rib cage is, how smooth it travels down to the lungs. And then notice your heartbeat. And notice the blood as it flows all the way down to your toes, to wherever you're seated today. Feel your feet upon the floor. And come back to your tree state. Imagining that you are a tree rooting into the ground wherever you are. Feeling the light coming in and through you. The fires warming you. Fueling your creativity, your sense of self. Feeling the waters flow through you and around you, imagining the waters coming up through your roots, feeding your branches, your limbs and leaves, and your blood flow. Clearing and cleansing of all things that are not in alignment with your highest self and most authentic expression of happiness, your joy. And feel the air as the wind blows through your home, through your leaves, through your hair, clearing out any stagnant energy, opening space for what's in alignment for your steps forward, for the harmony within yourself. Every breath opening space and releasing all out through the roots. Feeling yourself breathe with not only your atmosphere, but each and every one of us that have gathered here today. Knowing that we breathe together on this earth as one giant organism, expanding and contracting, all of our heartbeats connecting. Imagine a light going in through your nose as you inhale, swirling around your spine and up to the space between your eyebrows. Up to the infinite possibilities of space and spirit that flow from the throat to the third eye, up through the tip top of the crown, connecting us to the cosmos, to the greater purpose, to the macro lens with the eagles high above the clouds. Allow yourself to feel the flow between the groundedness and the sky. With that, we'll be led with a little blessing to close us out from our brother.
Thank you. I give thanks to the calls we've received back to nature, the recognition of how we work with her, how we bring her into our life, make her part of the living existence which we inhabit in this world. Learning to work with her and the guidance we're receiving in this direction in a good way. I give thanks to the elements that we've been learning to bring into our homes in the different ways today, and to our sister Shami, who's providing us with this knowledge. Thanks to the mother who's always with us and never leaves us. Thank you to the reminder to recognize her in our everyday life and our walk, in the way we breathe, the way we talk, the way we purchase and buy products, learning to do it in harmony with her. I give thanks for these lessons and this guidance today. I give thanks to our mother herself and how much of a role she plays in our life. And recognize that more we welcome into her home, our home, the healthier we become, the healthier our environment becomes, and the more healthily we become aligned with her. For this, I give thanks. Thank you.
Beautifully said, brother. Thank you so much. And thank you
Thank
all
you.
for diving into this conversation so we can really create this harmony that starts within, starts in our macro home space and expands outwards. If you want to continue discussion on this, please feel free to comment in the YouTube, or you can go to our Facebook group, Sanctuaries of the Earth Mother, where we have daily chattigans going on there. And we also have our Instagram, Earth Mother Sanct, SANCT. And you can see us every week, Wednesday, same time, same place, 5 p.m. Mountain Time. What time is it, Christopher, over there for you in New Zealand?
I'm at 1:42 p.m. So early afternoon.
Right on. Perfect. So, wherever you are in the world, we hope to see you on our Wednesdays community share circle. Very grateful to share with you today, and just wishing you all the blessings on your journey forward.
Well,
Thank you.
thank you very much.